Patrick from Australia.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi Patrick,
Hey,
how are you?
Guys?
We have some Australians in the audience with us today, too.
Oh, that's good. I'm actually a New Zealander, but I live in Australia.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was born an atheist, obviously. I've been an atheist my whole life, and just recently I thought I'd start reading the Bible. And after reading parts of the Bible, it's sort of changed my mind. It's changed my perspective. But I'd like to tell you how it's changed my perspective. I think I've gone from being an atheist to an anti-theist.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So when you say anti-theist, do you mean you're convinced that there is no God, or do you mean like you're against?
I think it's more that I'm against what a lot of it stands for, I guess, because I've had a lot of it, when I was obviously a lot younger and couldn't really think for myself, I had a lot of it forced upon me, but that's when I made my mind up to think, this isn't really working for me. But as I've read that Bible, I just thought, honestly, how can anyone believe it? But secondly, how can anyone feel that the God of that Bible is in any way a moral being?
Yeah.
That's I think, what I don't like anymore.
Yeah, and you know, I think that a lot of Christians did what I did when I was still a Christian, and that is that they look at the Bible as like a collection of a lot of metaphors, and
Yes.
and you know, and that most of it's not to be taken literally. And if you look at the way the Jews interpret a lot of what we call the Old Testament, they agree that most of these are not to be taken literally. But there are the biblical literalists that think that every single word in the Bible is absolutely true, and it can be nothing but the truth. And so for me, it wasn't so much what was in the Bible as that the people that were interpreting the Bible that kind of made me an anti-theist.
Sure. Okay.
And so, I still have friends who are liberal Christians who don't take it literally, and we disagree obviously on the existence of a God, but I don't worry about them, killing somebody that has a religious disagreement with them, or them sending their gay kid off to some conversion camp or something. Yeah. But I still think they're providing political cover for the more extreme elements. So.
Okay, and I mean, I guess what I wanted to also get at is, obviously, well, especially in New Zealand where I was originally from, but even in Australia, there isn't that real push for creationism to be introduced into schools. Yeah. So it hasn't really been on my radar per se, but after watching a lot of debates on YouTube, and YouTube is, I think, going to be the death of religion, but anyway, after watching lots of debates, obviously there's the idea that it is creeping into American schools. And that is a concern, and that's why I think my perspective is slowly going that way as well. Yeah, and it's something that we have to be vigilant about here, but in terms of school systems formally adopting that as a curriculum, at least public school systems, every time the creationists have tried to get it into a public school curriculum, they have lost, and they have lost big time. This is not you could interpret this as a minor slap, or we just need to tweak the curriculum. It was a massive smackdown every time. So it's unconstitutional, and not even a little bit. It's not a gray area at all. So they keep trying, especially here in Texas.
Yeah, they're going to keep trying, and we're going to have to keep arguing it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely something we have to remain vigilant about, but it's it's not currently part of the curriculum. Okay, that's a good thing. But probably one last thing: reading the Bible and obviously Ken Ham answers in Genesis and whatnot. With Genesis, there's a section in there where there's a mention of us. Genesis 1:26, to let us make man in our image, right? And has become like one of us. And I've seen all these explanations of, it's because he's talking about the Holy Trinity, but that hasn't even been introduced yet. So that's such a huge thing to talk about, but no one seems to. Right. Yeah, and not only that, but that is actually a Jewish text. And so if you want the correct interpretation of that, you really should be talking to a rabbi. And and if you talk to a rabbi,
they'll tell you that the Trinity is not part of Jewish theology at all. So
exactly.
That whole they were talking about the Trinity. That's not true. They were actually talking about, I guess the pantheon that existed in that area at the time. And I guess Tracy did a show long ago on those gods. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
That's one of those cases where they try to retrofit some text into something that they decided later and said, here, see, they're talking about the Trinity. Well, no, not really.
Yeah.
But
I just want to make one last point, if I can. The last guy, Mark, the caller from Canada, he started off saying he was a creationist, but then he said he believed in a free-thinking society.
Yeah.
Was that the definition of irony going on right there, or what?
Could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's some horrible stuff in the Bible, and I think most Christians deal with it by just not taking it literally.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, and saying, well, times were different then. And I've heard a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
But, there are people out there who think that when it says you should kill a witch or you should kill a homosexual, that's really true. And if only the government would let them do that, we would have a great society. And that's scary.
Yeah.